Good morning. I'm Joanne Jobin with VID Media, and welcome to the Dryden Gold Town Hall Forum. I'm delighted to welcome longtime friend and collaborator, CEO Trey Wasser, who many of you will remember from Ely Gold Royalties, and also joining us is Dryden Gold President Maura Kolb. And now a few words about the company. Dryden Gold is located in Northern Ontario in a highly prospective setting with known high-grade gold mineralization across its large property. It's also located in the same district as Red Lake Mine, Great Bear, and Rainy River. And of course, Dryden's team has a wealth of experience along with a track record of building shareholder value, regional property consolidation, and exploration success. So before we get started, I do want to remind everybody that if you do have questions, please place them into the Q&A tab located at the top of your chat sections. We will answer as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. And now I'd like to turn it over to Trey and Maura. Trey?
Thank you so much, Joanne, for the kind words and the excellent introduction. And thank you, everybody, for joining on today. We're excited to talk and bring everybody that doesn't know the Dryden story, introduce it to you, and those that do, bring you up to date and let you know we did announce this week that we have signed our definitive agreement for our RTO, reverse takeover, and we will be going public, probably effective sometime in December. So we're currently out marketing and offering of shares. We heretofore have been currently a private company and have been operating for a couple of years. So with that, I'm going to jump into the slides here, and we'll better let you read the forward-looking statements first, because we will be making a few of those, and as well as some references to some historic data and some historic mining, which, of course, there's no guarantees that what we have is we have not proved that we have something as good or better, but we will. So why invest in Dryden Gold? This is I think a unique opportunity in the market right now for three reasons. One is management. We have, while a small company, we've got a very experienced board of directors, three of which have done completed M&A transactions and sold their companies as CEOs in the last few years. Our fourth director has done several over his long career. We also have a very strong technical team. Maura comes to us. We're so lucky to get her. She has extensive experience in at the Red Lake camp, working for Gold Corp as exploration manager for replacing underground reserves. She's a structural geologist by trade and a local Drydian or Drydian. So very lucky to have Maura, and we'll talk about some of the other additions we've made to the team, and Maura will talk about kind of some of the backup there. Now, most importantly is our property package. The Dryden camp is the last underexplored gold camp in Northwestern Ontario. It's got great infrastructure. In fact, the Trans-Canada Highway runs right through the property. There's Highway 502 runs from Dryden right down to the property. It's a heavily forested and logging town, Dryden is. So we've seen a lot of logging, which is improved access and to the property through logging roads and stuff. We've got power, that the Ontario grid power, as well as railroad. So with Dryden as a mining town, we have got a lot of expertise right there to draw off of. Our drillers, our geology team, everybody as outside consultants and outside workers are coming locally there from the Dryden area. So let's take a look. Again, on the management side, we've got a few changes that we've made, adding Christina McCarthy as a director. Christina, we just did a successful sale of her company Paycore Minerals to I-80 Gold, and for $91 million last year. Also a strategic advisor, Darren Wagner, who's bought and sold a few companies in Canada, most recently Balmoral Resources to Wallbridge. Jason Jessup is an old-time friend and collaborator at Ely Gold Royalties. Part of his background was in the royalty business, but also he's a mining engineer by trade and did some work in the Dryden camp on our property in 2018, and one of the probably one of the key people who turned me on to this property. The Anna Hickam we had just added as VP of Exploration, and Anna has worked with Maura for many years and was her number 2 at the Red Lake camp. So just to show where this is in relation to in Northwestern Ontario, Joanne mentioned, to the north we have the Red Lake camp and Rice Lake. To the south, west and east is Rainy River and Hammond Reef. And of course, the only person who's been real active in the camp is Treasury Metals, who has a low grade, about 2 to 3 million ounce resource. So give you an idea, here's our property package. It's 48,000 hectares. It's very strategically located. All of our property is in yellow there, with the exception of we've just added the pink property, what we call Cross River, and the little green piece, which is Gold Cliff. And so I'm going to let Maura talk in a minute more about the why this is so strategic, but the gold mineralization on this runs from the very south end to the north of high-grade gold. There's been some exceptional intercepts. There's historic mining, and we will be, our initial focus is going to be pretty much in the center, from the pink up to maybe about where the Dryden, we call that the Gold Rock Camp, where the Dryden logo there is in the middle. And that's where we'll be doing our initial focus. So, Maura, why don't you tell the participants here a little bit about why this package is so strategic and how important it is that we've been able to consolidate this property package, which has been really fractured claims and not ever been fully explored, because it's never been consolidated the way Dryden has put this package together.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great segue, Trey. So, Trey mentioned that I have worked in this region for a long time, and that's one of the big opportunities we have on this property, is that we've pieced this all together. Trey quickly mentioned the structure that we have running from northeast to southwest on the property. You kind of see that hashed line there. We believe that's the main deformation structure and the main gold structure for the camp. So we've really strategically picked up ground along that structure, thinking that that is where we need to be. If you compare that to other camps like the Timmins camp, you want to be close to that main gold-bearing structure. There it's the Porcupine Duster. Here it's the Manitou-Dinorwic shear zone. Let's just take a little look at the geology. And Trey already mentioned this a bit, but we have high-grade hits on the entire property. And this is one of the last greenstone belts that really hasn't seen much exploration. All the drilling to date has been focused kind of on the historic camps. We're looking at the Gold Rock camp ourselves specifically, and then also to the south a little bit of drilling on the Gaffney historic mine. But there's just been a little bit of work, and really, I would say piecemeal. There's really never been a systematic approach to exploring this camp. And that's what differentiates us from previous workers or previous holders of this ground. That and the fact that we've really put it all together so that we can look at it in one strategic way. So I want to kind of jump back a little bit and talk about why this geology is so interesting and what brought me onto the team a little bit. So Trey mentioned I worked in Red Lake. So I was the exploration manager in Red Lake for 5 years, and I worked in the Red Lake camp for about 8 or 9 in total. So I'm really familiar with that geology. And when Trey approached me to come join the Dryden team, I thought, well, wow. I mean, looking at the geology, I see very big similarities between the main fault structure in Red Lake and the main fault structure that we have here in the Dryden camp. With secondary splays coming off of that, those create great traps for high-grade gold. And then if you also look at the geometry of the geology, you see we have a regional fold in the Red Lake camp. We also have a regional fold here in the Dryden camp. When you have those regional folds and then cross-cutting structures, it really does make fantastic traps, both from a physical trap with the faults and also a geochemistry trap. So in Red Lake, there's a highly magnetic mafic rock. We have a highly magnetic mafic rock also in the Dryden camp. We're doing more work now to understand that better and be able to target that specifically. It's a really great opportunity. Red Lake's been explored for the last 80 years, has drill holes everywhere. Whereas in the Gold Rock camp, it's seen very, very limited exploration, some historic mining, but very shallow. The deepest mine that we've found on record was 140 meters depth. And most of the drilling has been around 100 meters. So there's a lot of opportunity at depth and very little geologic interpretation yet to date. Oh, sorry, Trey. There you go.
Oops.
We're both clicking. Sorry. There we go. Do you want to introduce this one or me?
Yeah. Mara just mentioned the historic mining there, and just to point out, about 85% of the historic mining that's been done has been done on the patents and that we own, that we call the Ken West patents, and it's on the structures that has seen the most exploration. So. The historic mining was very limited, as Maura said, not to great depth. They pretty much just mined what they from surface expression, where they would see a vein and with gold in it, and start a shaft and dig down and mine as they went. So. It very interesting and does support the historic mining, of course. There all falls on that west side of the main fault, running northeast southwest, and most of it is also on those east-west cross structures. So supports that regional geology theory that Maura just discussed.
Thanks. That's a great segue into kind of comparing us to other similar mining camps in the region. I call it Central Canada. We're kind of looking from Manitoba over to Timmins, Kirkland Lake here on that first little cartoon. If we look at that, Gold Rock was mined very, very shallowly. It was all at the turn of the century. And then, Dryden really became busy with forestry and little exploration sense. Just little small, I'd say, blips of exploration by different companies. There's a huge opportunity. There's a huge opportunity for us, I think, to explore at depth here. As you can see, these camps like Red Lake and Timmins are very similar geologically, and they've been mined as deep as 2.5 kilometers at depth. Another example I wanted to bring up too, there's been recent studies comparing Dryden to Timmins. And I just wanted to point that out, that the Manitou-Dinorwic shear zone is similar to the Porcupine-Dester fault. We believe that they're both the main gold controlling structure. So when we showed the property package and how strategically we've picked up ground all along that fault, that's why. It's our belief that you need to be within about 1 kilometer to 2 kilometer away from that main gold-bearing structure. And then the secondary structures help to kind of create additional traps, along with the different rock types too, create different traps that'll create high-grade gold traps. So I want to show you here, the area we're going to be focusing most of our energy on is the Gold Rock camp. It's seen the most historic drilling. Trey talked a little bit of historic mining. Trey talked about that, and it has had drilling as well. We have about a known strike length of 1.5 kilometers, and that's partially from historic mining, partially from historic drilling, and we've been able to trace outcrops on surface with some surface sampling of about 1.5 kilometers strike of these veins. We've positioned ourselves along the Manitou-Dinorwic shear zone, which is really important, but there are a lot of east-west splay structures here. And I've drawn those out in black arrows there. We think those create excellent traps and are going to create areas where the high-grade gold will pool. Also mentioned before some of that folding, and you can really see this on the geologic map, the green and the yellow folded there along that shear zone. We believe that creates the great geometry we need for a big deposit here.
This is a slide that that I really like. It really supports what Mara is talking about, and it's a little over my head. When Mara talks about it, she delves into the geophysics and the 3D modeling and what they've done, and it is kind of magic. But what the 3D geophysics does in layman's terms is help identify those structures which tend to be or appear to be, or in this case are gold bearing. So you can see that this basically runs up and down the strike, these targets. The targets that were generated here also support the east-west splays as far as being good targets. And most of this is over known, or a lot of it is over known gold mineralization. So if you went back to the last slide, you'd see that pretty much there's gold occurrences, known gold occurrences, either through mining, ground sampling, some amount of drilling, but that there are no gold occurrences. And this pretty much shows that we have, these potential targets along strike over the whole 20 kilometers of strike in the Gold Rock camp here, and with the added benefit of these east-west structures bringing gold in as well.
I'm just going to make one quick correction. There's a few of these targets that are over known mineralization, so about a handful, and the rest are new targets. And in some cases, so we got this kind of midsummer, we still had a chance to go out and explore some of these additional targets on surface. And where we went out to, test this theory, we did see sulfide mineralization and alteration. So for us, that shows a really good indication that using these geophysics targets coupled with our structural knowledge and other targets we've had in the past, we're really honing in on good structures and good targets along the entire Gold Rock camp. So this is kind of zooming in on the known mineralization. And I wanted to show here the importance of this is really how much drilling we do have in hand. So you can see the little lines there are drill holes, and I've got that filtered for assay intercepts over 1 gram per ton. And you can see that it really well defines. We've got 4 vein structures really well defined here that have been drilled by previous owners, Manitou and others prior to that. So, we look at this and we think, wow, how has there not been a resource on this before? And it gives us kind of a huge opportunity to work from this known mineralization that we were able to put the first vein models on that we know of, and then work our way out from that. And I'll get into the drill program that we're about to start here in a few slides. But I just wanted to reiterate that we have quite a bit of data already that we're working with, and then we'll be growing and expanding on that from here. I can't not show you this photo. This is the best intercept on the property, and it's right within the heart of that last slide. It just shows what the mineralization looks like, though. We have this nice vein structure that has high-grade nuggety gold within it, but the nice part for me, being a previous miner, is that we also have halo mineralization on either side. So this is something that has enough width with the halo to actually be mineable. And that's what got me very excited about the opportunity here too. So we have this vein structure that is, about 1 foot to 0.5 meter typical width, with halo mineralization up to about 8 meters, kind of bounding either side of it. And that halo mineralization runs about 0.5 gram to 2 grams grade. So, something that, and I'll show you in the next slide how it looks on surface. So this example here is, actually I've jumped back for a second. Not to mention one thing. So this high grade hit here was drilled by Manitou in 2011. And then they did follow up drilling after that. I think Some of it was a bit luck. What I don't see them applying was the structural interpretation that we have been applying to this deposit. The cross-cutting structures are really important, and this is something that we'll be going after, is understanding them and how they control the plunge of high grade within these large continuous vein structures. They did do some test mining above this. So you can see in the cross section, there's a trench and a little pit above that. So I'm just going to go into the next slide now and show you what that looks like on surface.
I'll just jump in too here and point out, so nobody missed it, that is actually 53,000 grams per ton, 1,732 ounces per ton over a half a meter in that vein, in that intercept.
Yeah, it's very good. So this is the surface expression of that same vein, and this is where they did the test mining. Really nice recoveries here. So just with gravity, 88.6%, and then adding cyanide to this, you get over 99% recovery. So this is great, very clean, free gold in this vein. And I wanted to show you this because you can see how continuous this vein structure is on surface and the alteration on either side. So that halo that I talked about, it's a visual thing, and you can follow that. This test mining that they did 5 small blasts on this. They got 1.5 grams average grade, which is great, mineable things from this entire width of the alteration. So that brings us, I think that gives us some good base to look at what Dryden Gold plans on doing here on the property and how we plan on expanding the understanding here and stepping out on targets. So I've got a little cartoon that zooms in on the known strike length. Sorry. It's about 1.5 kilometers on that BM vein, so the Big Master historic mining. We've been able to trace that on surface all the way up to the north. It's never been drilled up there, so we're going to do a couple holes there testing that mineralization from below surface. We are going to also do some specific strategic holes to better understand the cross-cutting structures. We know that these east-west structures are here, but we believe that they're very important for controlling the high-grade plunge. So we're doing, for the first time ever, we're doing oriented core on this property so that we can get really good measurements of these cross-cutting structures and use those to help us to predict the orientation of the plunge of the high-grade mineralization within these vein structures. We'll be doing 1 deep hole underneath kind of the main heart of the deposit. After we figure out the orientation of the cross-cutting structures, we'll use that to kind of better inform and tweak that deep hole so that we can hit the high-grade plunge at depth. And then we're going to do a few step-out holes. We got about 1 kilometer step-out target, which comes from the geophysics targeting, and we were able to see some surface mineralization expression as well. So we'll be testing that bigger step-out on this program upcoming. Anything else, Trey?
Yeah, let me just add a couple of things on this too. Is those step-out targets that you just mentioned to the south? That is an area of historic mining, so that also supports that targeting. And then on the El Oro vein, you notice that she's planning these holes to the south, but nothing to the north there. And the reason for that is that it steps off the patents right there, that vein structure. But at the very north end of that El Oro vein is where the Laurentian mine was. And the Laurentian mine was the most productive mine in the district. They mined there at an average of about just under 0.5 ounce per ton. So we know that from historic mining, that there's a very good chance that when we get permits for testing that off of the patents, that we're very anxious to get to that.
Well, and we're very excited about the extension of that as well. So the rest of the vein has been defined by either mining or drilling, and this extension to the south has not. So it's a big opportunity to test our theories and hit some new high-grade mineralization.
Yep. So I'll now kind of go over and give a snapshot of the offering and what we're planning here. You can see our current capitalization. As a private company, we've raised a little over $4 million, and must say, well, we've got Alamos Gold is now the option, or bought out Manitou Gold, and we've been very strategic in adding shareholders at the private level. So we have some high level people involved in this. We've got brokers and bankers and analysts from, I think it is 6 or 7 different firms now that have liked this story enough that they've invested personally. A lot of other strategic shareholders that will be, helping, working and putting orders in for the RTO financing. So we're looking at raising $5 million in the RTO. We have to do it's a minimum of 3, a maximum of 5 million. We may do some flow through shares in there, but that's something that we would negotiate and just get better terms. So we're pricing at 5 million. We're pricing 20 million units at 25 cents with a half a warrant at 40 cents for 2 years. We'll have 4 million shares that will go to the Shellco in the RTO, and we also have 4 million shares that will on the RTO. As soon as the stock trades for 20 days, we'll issue shares to Alamos Gold at the end of the year. So we're looking at a post-money valuation here of about $18 million. We will be listing TSXV, and quickly after that, we'll also be working with the OTCQB for the U.S. A U.S. symbol, but our proposed symbol under the TSXV will be DRY. And you can see with the use of proceeds down at the bottom, got some property payments over the next 12 months to make to Alamos, but we're trying to get the bulk of everything we raise into the ground, and I think we have a target ultimately of getting 80 cents on the dollar into the ground here. So, I'll just sum up again why I invest in Dryden Gold. Again, the management, point out here that with, a successful management in building shareholder value, not only in building, but creating and exiting for shareholders. A technical team that understands this geology and is local to the project, and then again the property, just a dominant strategic land position. When you look at the historic mining, I don't think any of the mines that were mined historically were mined by this. No 2 mines were mined by the same company, with maybe a few exceptions over time as somebody acquired one. But mostly this property has been split up. Manitou did a good job of helping to start to consolidate it, but we've continued. And this is something that, we learned at Ely Gold, is that if you want to attract investment and possibly M&A activity with a major or mid-tier, you need to have a dominant land position and the consolidation already completed. Major companies do not. They like big positions, they like district plays, but they don't like so much putting them together themselves. So with that, I think we can go ahead and open it up. Get Joanne back on if she's. There she is. So good.
I'm here. Thanks.
Moderate unless she loses her weak internet connection.
Yes.
Joanne will moderate.
So far, so good. All right. Thanks for the update, Trey, Mara. That was fantastic. We're going to get to our questions now. So let's start with the first one. And by the way, you can upvote these questions by hitting the thumb emoji. So let us know in which order you'd like to hear them. So what catalysts are you most excited for 2023 or the remainder of the year next year?
Well, yeah, 2023 is coming to an end. But I will say that, while we have not completed the RTO financing yet, with our private financing, we have initiated this drill program. So we have drills, they're mobilizing as we speak here. So, by the time we finish this financing, we will, we'll be seeing drill results pretty quickly. But look, we know we have some high grade and some super high grade gold in this structure, and it's just never been really explored before. Certainly, it's never been explored at depth. So we think we can go deeper. We think we have targets all along the 20 kilometers of strike. You wouldn't expect that it would necessarily be, all contiguous, but a lot of targets there. So, we're just excited for Maura and Anna to get that drill core and prove up their theories and find the source of this high grade gold. I will also mention on this, because I forgot to mention it when I was on the RTO slide, is because of the way we're doing this as subscription receipts for the RTO, this offering will be for accredited investors only.
You can contact us if you want to be involved, IR@Dryden Gold, or you can email Trey or myself individually. I just wanted to add a couple of things to the catalysts. I think for us, it's really to confirm the theories that we have on what's controlling the high grade mineralization. And that's really how we've designed the drill program, and how we've done the field work this summer was to help us to better understand that. And the interpretation work we've done with the geophysics is really to hone in on that. I'm a big believer in doing the right homework and the right geology work to get higher success rate and better luck. And I've done this in a very complex camp. The Red Lake camp is one of the most structurally complex ones out there. So this is kind of my bread and butter and my favorite challenge. So I think this first drill program will really help to show that we are successful and understand the belt and our theories are true. So that's a huge catalyst for us. And I think from there, the step outs that we have planned, those showing that our theories are working, it just will be running. It'll be running from there. And with the $5 million raise, we have additional secondary programs planned based on that success. So it'll be kind of a get the ball rolling and watch her go sort of thing.
Great. And I would like to remind our audience that this is a female-led exploration team. Well done, Trey, by the way.
Well,
all right.
When I started to put this team together, and that applies to the directors and certainly the technical team, is I said I really wanted to give a shot to some smart young geologists. It just happened that all the smart young ones I found were women.
Still great. It's great to see. Warms my heart. All right. So here's a question looking into your crystal ball. Where do you see the company in 3 to 5 years?
Well, we've kind of got to, the blue sky story is we call it Great Bear 2.0. We would not might be pushing it to say we're Red Lake 2.0 with that many millions of ounces, but we think that that just the Gold Rock camp could certainly hold the kind of resources that we're talking about at Great Bear. But that blue sky is all well and good. But when we look at this camp, is that the Treasury Metals has a large, almost 3 million ounce resource to the north of us, and that's low grade. It's around a gram. It is open pit. They've been working on feasibility studies and stuff, and it may be a mine, it may not be, but it certainly is a very valid low grade resource. So we think the downside for Dryden is that we find the 2 or 3 million ounces of high grade that would blend and make that a mine. And if that's the case, it would be very attractive to a mid-tier producer. So that's kind of the upside and downside. And, I think in 3 years, we will either be, really building a large resource, or, we will attract a major mid-tier company with our land package and a limited success. I mean, I will point out to people that Great Bear sold for $1.5 billion without ever even publishing a resource. So it's this kind of property package and high grade gold is what what the majors and mid-tier producers are looking for these days.
Excellent. And Trey, while you just answered the last question, let's continue on with the commodity markets and how that is impacting the company and your current IPO, if it is indeed impacting.
Well, the market for gold stocks has really kind of separated itself here from the price of gold. I mean, here we have gold at dancing around $2,000 an ounce. Looking very like it's wanting to go to new highs. I think if it does that, it's likely to jump quite a bit higher all at once. There's a lot of obviously geopolitical and federal deficit and crazy spending in the U.S. So there's a lot of reasons for gold to go higher. Having said that, the market for gold stocks is probably as bad as it gets, and the ratio of gold to a gold stock index like the HUI is at kind of historic low levels. So we don't have a lot of attention to the gold equity market right now. And, we expect it always to be challenging. But so far, we've raised quite a bit of money as a private company. We have a great team of not only shareholders, but, that continue to put money up into the property. And I think we'll on this offering. So we expect to close this offering successfully and have enough money to operate as we do through next year and do two drill programs.
Excellent. And Maura, can you give us a little bit of history on how this land package was actually assembled? Because it is, it's quite a footprint. But, give us a little history about how it all came to be and how it all came together.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest portion of this property was put together by 2 option agreements. Basically, the northern half of the property. You can actually go to that one, Trey, the one below.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So the northern half of the property was put together with the Tremblay, we call it the Tremblay option. And this is also in our 43-101 if you're interested in a deep dive. And the southern half was mainly owned by Manitou Gold. So 2 option agreements with those 2. And then we've strategically staked where things have come open along the main shear zone and some of these secondary shear zones. And then the pink there is a property that we've just closed the addition to our land package with. And we really wanted that because of its proximity and location along the Manitou-Dinorwic shear zone and the secondary structures along it. There's some historic mines on there. I don't think we mentioned them in this talk, but the Queen Alexandra was almost an ounce. It had very little mining, but a lot of these mines kind of started and then were closed when one of the wars hit. And so they really weren't fully operational. So we thought there was huge opportunity with that one. We've also, and so we picked that up completely, purchased on an option agreement, and then the little green piece as well through a purchase agreement. That's Gold Cliff, and it has a very high grade hit of was it 1,700 Trey, over 0.75 grams per ton, or over 0.75 meters. So, more evidence of these secondary east-west structures having high grade on them. So it's been really a strategic assembly of these pieces. And we're always watching this belt and talking to every prospector and group here to see if something makes sense to bring into our portfolio. But it's really got to be strategic and make sense to our thesis.
I might add to, on that Cross River piece, the pink, you can see the cross section that the east-west structure that runs into that there. And I'll just point out for any of the listeners that are familiar with Dynasty Gold, who is very active in the camp right now, has had some excellent results. You can see their piece there in pink, and it is on that east-west structure. But also give you an idea of the size of Dynasty's land package compared to ours.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so your strategy for continuing to explore is just look at strategic land packages, but where is the main exploration? Like, I know you've got drills turning or imminently turning. Where is that going to be?
Thank you. That's a great one to talk more about. So I always put together what I call a resource pipeline so that we can rank and rate all of the targets, because in a land package this big, it can be very distracting. You get a good hit from a field program and you want to go run everywhere and win every which way. And that actually happens to a lot of juniors. You want to keep capitalizing on your success, but you need to be really, really disciplined about how you go about this. So we will be focusing mainly on the Gold Rock camp because it has the most history and it's the most obvious growth target within our property package. But from there, we will put together, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this summer we did kind of prospecting, geochemistry work across the entire property. We have geophysics covering the entire property. So all of that allows us to come up with a full set of targets across the property. We'll rank and rate those, and we'll continue to work a little bit on some of the things that are lower in the priority list so that we always have the next target to bring up to speed. You never want to only test your one target and then not have something that's kind of ready to bring into a resource next. So you want to be really disciplined, but always be working on the others, but not get distracted by them. So we'll keep the Gold Rock camp is going to be our main focus, growing that, creating something that, is a big resource, a high grade resource. That's what we're after. And everything here will be ranked by grade. That grade is king. And that's what really we need in this camp. And, Trey may not have mentioned it this time in the background, but I did work at Treasury Metals after Red Lake. So I'm familiar with those deposits there. And I think that's what we really need to unlock the Dryden camp is high grade to turn the switch and turn this into a mining camp itself.
Yeah, I might just add too on that, there may be a few strategic smaller pieces. And once we understand the structures and the geology a little bit better, there may be something, but I'd have to say at this point that we are probably 90% complete on consolidating this land package. I mean, we own it. We own the camp and we own the, pretty much everything to the west of that main structure along this folded region. And these folds that you're seeing here and this and the structure, of course, runs, this is 20 kilometers through the Gold Rock camp, but, it's really 50 kilometers throughout the
entire camp.
Throughout the entire camp. So when you look at, at what we're looking at this slide and maybe, when you talk about it, is we know there's super high grade here. We've got a lot to, of data and drill holes. We know we can start to pull a deposit here. So, I mean, to some degree, and more, you might correct me as you often do. But we're also working. We're working from in to out along this camp. I mean, we just want to show that there's more of this. We know what we have here, and so if we can show that show depth on it, which hasn't been done before, and show an increased length, we can put a deposit together here or a resource together here very quickly. And I will say too that the other thing that's very interesting about this deposit, or I don't mean deposit, but about this mineralization, is when you look at just the big master vein here, and Maura talked about this halo, and that the high grade gold in the 0.5 meter to 0.75 meter generally of the vein is then surrounded by this 1.5 to 2 gram halo. But it is from surface. I mean, literally. So we're not talking about something that's, starting at 100 meters or 200 meters of depth and, needs, is difficult to drill from surface. And, so we do want to make it deeper, but this mineralization is starting at surface.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great segue to one other thing, that with the geophysics, we have a bunch of targets now that we're undercover, because this historic mining and the deposit, the mineralizations that's been found from surface. So it's exciting times for sure. Sorry, go ahead, Joanne.
No, I think, look at that core. That's pretty impressive by any stretch. And I've looked at a lot of core. That is something else, let me tell you. On the capitalization side, Trey, and also on your IPO, which is coming up, we're getting to the top of the hour, so this is going to be the last question. But can you talk about who's behind this company and some of the strong shareholders you have? Because I think that's really important. And also, do you have any idea of what your IPO pricing will be? Or can you talk about that at this time? Stage?
I think I mentioned that before. The RTO pricing will be a unit at 25 cents with a half a warrant for 2 years at 40 cents. So that will be done as subscription agreements, and we are just putting the finishing touching on those, which will look to accredited investor like a private placement. So these funds are escrowed and held by our escrow agent at Ferris, the attorney in Vancouver, and until the final approval. And then what gets issued, of course, is the free trading stock and warrants it replaces those from the subscription units. So. As far as the people involved in the company, I can tell you from the standpoint, founders and management, everybody on the board, everybody in management has invested in this company. I've invested personally in every round. I might point out that I'm not drawing any salary doing this as CEO. I'm deferring everything for out 18 months. But of course, we have our largest shareholder, Alamos Gold, who is looking over our shoulder, quite anxiously at times. Eric Sprott's been involved and invested in almost every financing. Earth Labs, which is, of course, Denny, who has the podcast on CEO.ca, which will be joining him for his podcast next Tuesday in Toronto. On top of that, we have I mentioned before, a large contingency of brokers, bankers, and analysts from 6 different investment firms. And some of those firms we have, all 3. And so those investment firms, Research Capital, PI, Haywood, Lead, though they will be participating and helping with the placement and putting us in front of people. And so Adrian Day, the letter writer and fund manager, is involved. Luminex people from that work with Ross Beatty is involved. Ross is not at this point, but we have a very strategic list. We really have not gone out in our private placements for a private company to any real retail type of investors. It's with the exception of a few guys from Ely who were, long-term shareholders who just insisted on whatever I did next, they wanted to be involved. It's pretty much all strategic and institutional shareholders involved in this.
Excellent. All right. We are at the top of the hour, so we will end our town hall forum. But before we leave, Trey, would you like to say a few words to your, potential shareholders and audience members who've joined us here this morning?
Well, look, for all of you who know me from Ely, I think we were one of the first companies to really use these town halls. I love this forum, and you can expect to always be updated as a shareholder and as we're moving along through these town halls. We also we really like the Crux guys, Matt over there, who just does a fabulous interview, which isn't necessarily a run through, and a lot of times more technical, and so it's mostly a more Matt call. We intend to stay focused here, and this is not a lifestyle company. This is an exploration company, and it just may be the most exciting project I've seen in a long time. And with all the remote helicopter drilling that goes on and everything else, we're really looking forward to making the next big discovery in Canada right along the Trans-Canada Highway.
Awesome.
Right under their noses.
Well done, Trey. Thank you so much to Trey and Maura and Dryden for joining us today. And should you have any further questions for the company, please email them directly to Maura at mjkolb@drydengold.com. And this presentation will be available on Dryden's website within the next 24 hours, as well as across all of the VID platforms and our website. And just a quick reminder to please fill out the questionnaire before logging on, as this helps us and the company to communicate more effectively with you. Thanks to everyone who joined us today, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Town Hall Forum. Goodbye, everyone.